the 5 who are now accused, that you have the people who perhaps committed the crime, but you don't have the mastermind. Do you still stick by those rules?
I still stick by those rules, and I think it became more clearer, isn't it, with the evidence that we've heard so far, why I said it, and I still stand with it. I still think that we have the people that may be convicted on the evidence that I've seen of the murder, but then we have to really ask ourselves the questions why. And we still believe that it's not a robbery that went wrong, but rather a contract killing.
And Mr.
Though I did not have much interaction with him because it was just for the short period.
And what is the name of that suspect?
Ubani manje ke lo mso igama lakhe?
Mankhumula kwathiwa uMuzi Sibiya.
If I recall, it was Muzi Sibiya.
Okay. And any other suspect also that was brought there? Is there any suspect that was brought there who they said was in relation to the Senzo Mewa case?
Ngaphandle kwalowo ke ukhona futhi omunye umsolwa owalethwa lapha kule station seni ukuthi naye ke unesandla kule cala lika Senzo Mewa.
Kunjalo Nkosi.
Yes, that is correct.
Who was that suspect?
Ubani ke lo yena?
Baletha David Mathebula owayedlala Kaizer Chiefs.
They brought David Matebula, who was a Kaizer Chiefs player.
Now, Captain, I'm about to wrap up. During your interaction with the police officers that were involved in this investigation.
Hey, Chada, we are back with another video. The page, it is South African Late News. The highlight of this week's court proceedings has been the fact that David Mathebula was indeed arrested for the Mewa case, and secondly, that the cell phone records that they speak about, there was no chain of evidence for the cell phone that was recovered. We're told that Mohantan was using a cell phone while in prison. We're told that the cell phone was found in his cell on the 7th of February 2021. Yet, when the cell phone was found, it was never recorded in the SAP-13. There isn't, it's like in a register of all the goods that are recovered from the inmates or goods that are found in the cells. But in the case of Mohantanzi, that was never recorded in the SAP-13. Mohane probably lied about finding that cell phone in Tanzi's prison cell. We're told that that cell phone was taken to Mpumalanga in the following day for downloading and so on. But in any court case, we need to have what we call chain of evidence, meaning that from the beginning where the cell phone was found, there should be logging or history to show that there was a proper chain of evidence. So the moment they found that cell phone, it should have been recorded at Velera police stations, SAP-13, so that we know how it moved from point A to point B. And so on, but we do not know the source because officially it was never recorded in the SAP-13, which means that Mohana could be lying. It could be the fact that the cell phone was planted in order to implicate Mohandans. I'm sure the cell phone was being used by Uma Bena because Mtan says when he was arrested, all cell phones and watches and so on, they were taken from him and they were kept in a prison safe. Now, the cell phone lecture wafona ngayo yona bayithola kanjani, because when you enter prison, you are thoroughly searched. And in the case of Mohandans, he even appeared in court, and they said all this time he had his cell phone when he appeared in court. That is a pure lie, because they would have seen it, because even if you are taken to court, they then search you before they put you in the court cells, because it is the court precinct and you have to search so that to make sure that there are no foreign stuff that might cause harm in court. For instance, they search you to see if unpurchased balm, or Mbes. But in the case of Mwantanzi, it was never done. I don't believe it. That cell phone was with my banner at all material times. So Untanzi never had a cell phone. They're just saying that Untanzi had a cell phone because they want to implicate him and say he was phoning Abolebo, Umawak, and other people. So Umokhan, I think he needs to be recalled by the court to come and explain his lies, because now this station commander from Valeria, he says ngokwakhe yena akayazi indawo ye-cellphone dance. So how did that happen? Because if he's the station commander, he should know ukuthi at the particular time a cell phone was recovered from a particular inmate. But in this case, he's saying he only found out about the cell phone in a court. So clearly that cell phone thing is a lie. It's a lie, and there's no chain of evidence. We do not know how did it move from point A to point Z, because it was not recorded in the SAP-13 at the time when it was found. And then we learned that David Matebula, the former Kaizer Chiefs player, was also arrested for the Muir case. I think his only crime was that he was phoned by the cell phone number that belonged to Kelly Khumalo after Senzo was shot. So now I think they were trying to use Matebula to get to Kelly Khumalo, because they want us to think that Kelly Khumalo is the mastermind. So I suspect that they were trying to get that information from Matebula, or trying to pressure Matebula ukuthi they're trying to make Matebula to put Kelly Khumalo under the bus and say she is the mastermind. But I think Matebula, because he did not lie, he was then arrested. So I think it was just a way to scare Matebula, because it's what they did to Ubandans and Musbi when they brought them to Evelera police station. So we now know that Samuel Mbata is not the only one that was arrested in this case and not charged in the end by Ubaloyi. He was charged by others, but eventually the case was thrown off court because there was no evidence. But now we know that Matebula Naye, he was arrested for the case. So how many people have been abused for the sake of getting evidence in false pretense? So I'm interested to Matebula, if he is called, okay, what was the reason for his arrest? Because I'm sure he knows something. But I think his only crime was that his cell phone number was phoned by the cell phone number Kelly Khumalo immediately after Senzo had passed on. It could be the fact that they phoned Matebula because they wanted to get information, maybe my parents are Senzo Meyiwa, or any other information relating to Senzo Meyiwa, because we understand that Matebula, he was also a friend with Senzo Meyiwa. So I think that's the reason why they phoned him. They had his number and so on. But the police now thought, let's arrest Matebula and find out what he knows. But in the end, it turned out that there's nothing. I suspect that they wanted Matebula to implicate Kelly Khumalo, so that they say the mastermind planned this and then use Matebula somehow. I do not know how Matebula enters into this fray, but because the state is ruthless, I suspect that they wanted to get false information from Matebula just to implicate the mastermind. We heard in the first video that I played of Kernel saying that there is a mastermind in this case and she should be arrested alongside with these 5 accused before court. But till this stage, there is no proof of that Kwakwana mastermind. So Matebula, I'm interested to know what this is because he has not issued a statement or sued the police for unlawful arrest, nothing. So I think this captain from Velera Police Station, I think his evidence was crucial because we get to know more about this case, about the people that were also arrested. But most importantly, he put Umokhan under the bus and proved that the police lied about that cell phone. Bwantanzi never had a cell phone when he was in prison. I think it's Mabena that was phoning people so that they can say Ntanzi knows accused number so and so. So they use that to phone his family first, so that they can link the cell phone to Ntanzi, saying the cell phone was phoning numbers that knew abantu Ntanzi. So they're phoning his relatives and friends and girlfriends, so that they can link the cell phone to Ntanzi. Later on, then they would say calls were made between that number and some of the accused. But you can see the trick. They are trying to implicate Ntanzi. If, let's say, the cell phone was in possession of Ntanzi, then why the cell phone was moving all over Pretoria, whereas Ntanzi was stationed at the police station? If the cell phone was moving around, it means it was in a suspect or moon or a harbor all over the town. So it must have been one of the police officers. To be blunt, Ntanzi said it was Mabena, because after the telephone had phoned Ntanzi's friends and relatives, the next person to be phoned by that cell phone was Mabena. Every time Mabena was called each time. So it's suspected that Mabena was the one that was using the phone. And Ntanzi was asked when he was testifying, okay, what was your relationship with Mabena? And Ntanzi said, I had no relationship with Mabena because he is one of the people that were abusing me. So Ntanzi and Mabena had no relationship whatsoever. So you cannot link it to Ntanzi, their cell phone there. So the next witness that might come, I think is this guy here, Undwandwe. Remember, there's that number that they're saying it belongs to accused number 5, but all of the accused are saying that number belonged to Ndwandwe. So I suspect Ndwandwe is going to come and confirm that fact in court for himself, so that we have clarity. And then I heard it on good authority that some of the witnesses are afraid to come to testify on behalf of Ntanzi because they have been threatened. I don't know how truthful is that, but it's something that I've heard in the streets. So it would be a sad thing that Ntanzi's witnesses can't come to court because they fear of being victimized. We know that the state has victimized some of the defense's witnesses. For instance, Gwabini. Gwabini was arrested by the likes of Maphumulo when he was just sleeping at his hostel. They came at night and then planted a gun under his bed so that they can try and manipulate him into testifying against these men before court. They said, we found a gun. If you don't testify against accused 1, 2, and 3, then we'll charge you. But Gwabini refused because he knew that these accused before court are innocent. Then they also did the same thing to uMakhosonke. They phoned him and spoke about a case of sexual assault that was committed by him. But when the police eventually met him, they did not question him about that assault case. Instead, they questioned him about the Mayo case and tried to blackmail him into testifying against these guys. But when Makhosonke came to court, he denied ever knowing anything that had to do with the Mayo case. So the state wanted to use Makhosonke, but Makhosonke refused in the end, even though he was forced to sign a certain statement. But when it came to court, he disputed that statement, which would help the defense to create reasonable doubt. The same way Gwabini's statement that he was forced to sign, he denied it in court. That also helped to create reasonable doubt. So you can see that the state was trying its level best to intimidate the defense witnesses like Abu Gwabini into testifying against the accused. But in the end, the state failed dismally. So I'm hoping that next week we get some more witnesses that will help Ntanzi's case to move forward. Makubo, who was the one that opened docket 5, has not yet arrived. Josuchelezi as well has not yet been called. So I'm not sure what's the strategy. Maybe those witnesses will be called by Ukadla or accused number 4 or accused number 5, because they can be called by either of any of them, because in the end, the order of witnesses, it's not relevant, it's not really important, as long as they come to court. That's what matters the most. They come to court and debunk the lies of the state. So Makubo, I'm hoping that he comes to court so that he can clarify certain issues that were contained in Docket 275, because that is very important. If they put Docket 275 on records, that will further create more reasonable doubt in the state case. Makubo opened Docket 275 because he realized that the people that were in the house lied about the whole thing. He said there was no intruder. So the story about two men entering the house, demanding cell phone and money, is a pure lie. It never happened. The shooter was amongst the people that were in the house. And that is Makubo's only crime. That is why he was then harassed for years by the police. The same way things turned out for Joyce Buthelezi. She helped Makubo to open Docket 275. She was also harassed to such extent that she was demoted from her position in the police because she was part of Docket 275. So it is important that those witnesses come to court. I'm hoping that they are not going to be intimidated to come to court. As police officers, I expect them to be much more braver than other witnesses that could have helped Ntanzi. I suspect that Ntanzi's ex-girlfriend, Ulebo, was intimidated, which is why she may not be coming to court. I suspect also some of Ntanzi's friends from Rustenburg may not come because the state might have threatened them. It is the reality of this case that the witnesses are threatened because the state has got all the resources. It's got the mighty power of the state. If the state wants you, they'll find something to charge you with. Let's say you've got an old fine or something that is outstanding. They'll deal with you decisively. So I suspect that they are using the same tactics to some of the defense witnesses so that they do not come to court. Remember that Umusibiya, there was one witness that was supposed to come and testify on his behalf, but that witness never arrived in court because he was threatened. So I'm hoping that Makubo, Joyce Buthelezi, they do not feel threatened because their testimony will be very important in moving the case of Ntanzi as well as all the other accused forward, because we need them to create reasonable doubt in the state case. That's all that the defense needs to do, is to create reasonable doubt in the state case. They do not need to prove anything. Ntanzi, they do not need to prove ukuthi babelaphi kanjani kanjani. They need to just to create that doubt in the judge's mind. It is possible true ukuthi le nto abayishoyo iqiniso, not to prove beyond reasonable doubt, just to create doubt ukuthi le nto eshiwo ubaloyi ayikho. Because ubaloyi, he had been handling this case from the regional court to the magistrate's court to the high court. So Ubaloyi has got all the information and time on his side, but yet he failed to produce any real evidence that implicates these guys. He failed to prove ukuthi they were at the crime scene. We were told that two men entered the house, but the people in the house could not identify them when they went to Steenkamp to help drawing that sketch or identikits that was later used as something that the public can identify the shooter. But the people that were in the house could not identify Ntanzi and Gadla, because initially we were told that those are the two that entered the house. But when it was time to identify them, the people in the house could not do it. They could not identify them because there was no intruder. They only pointed out Ntanzi in court because they had seen Ntanzi already on TV. Now I'm talking about Zandi Khumalo, because Zandi Khumalo is one of those that identify Ntanzi in court. But before then, she could not identify Ntanzi because Ntanzi never entered the house. She was able to identify Ntanzi once she had seen him on TV and then be able to implicate him in the Mayowa case, a crime that he did not commit. But we shall see. the most important thing that happened this week is that we know that David Mathebula was also arrested in this case, as well as the fact that the cell phone that was allegedly found in Tanzi's cell, it was never recorded in the SAP-13 to show that it was found